On average, going against the crowd is a bad move. There's some truth to the saying, wisdom of the crowd. Although, that's not always the case. And if you want to do better than average, you have to go against the crowd, at least on occasion. So, that's exactly what I did with oil stocks. Back in February 2020, I bought shares of Exxon Mobil for $48.85. I invested a huge chunk of my hard-earned savings back at that time. I bought 300 shares for $14,655. But alas, the timing, it wasn't ideal. Then again, it rarely is. In less than a month, I was down more than 30%. It wasn't a great feeling to see my portfolio lose so much, but my initial investment thesis, it hadn't changed. So I just kept on holding on to the beaten down oil stock. It ended up bouncing around, and by the end of the year, it wasn't far from break even. And around that time, I ended up publishing another video with the title, Should I Sell My Exxon Mobil Stock? At the time, there were non-stop negative headlines for fossil fuels. Governments were putting new limits on exploration, production, and transportation. Investment funds were divesting oil stocks. And oil demand and prices, they dropped as the pandemic, it really halted a lot of travel around the world. Now, travel, it has started to pick back up, but some of those other negative pressures remain. Nonetheless, my initial investment thesis, it started to play out. Even though I'm truly looking forward for a renewable energy future, fossil fuels will continue to be a major source of energy production for many decades. As a result, government restrictions and the underinvestment over the years, they've led to an oil supply shortage. That's on top of global supply chain disruptions thanks to Russia's recent actions. This has all led to higher oil prices. And don't forget, government stimulus and currency inflation is playing a part as well. As a result, crude oil prices are near the highest levels that we've seen in the past 2 decades. The cost of a barrel of oil recently topped $100. Overall, it's been a bumpy ride, but my shares of Exxon Mobil have climbed higher along with oil prices. They've almost doubled from my entry point. My initial investment of $14,655, it's climbed to above $27,500. It's really great to see that my contrarian play is working out. There's even an ongoing joke in my full-time job. My YouTube channel here, it's just a side passion project. So I would really appreciate it if you just tap that like button down below, as well as subscribe. That really means a great deal to me. So some of my coworkers say that I'm an unethical investor for investing in oil stocks. It's in jest, I think. But many people around the world, they just fail to see that using fossil fuels, it's still a net benefit today. Many people talk a big game about switching to renewable energy, but reality, it's starting to set in. We still benefit immensely from fossil fuels today. And of course, there are negative side effects we're working to overcome. I'm personally very optimistic in human innovation to overcome those issues. But once again, using fossil fuels is a net benefit today. When looking at the energy data and trends, I realize that renewables are still far off from overtaking fossil fuels. Now, it's really easy to tell others what to do, but now fossil fuel restrictions and underinvestment are impacting everyone. And sentiment is starting to change again. We're seeing higher prices at the pump along with fuel costs. But on top of that, higher fuel prices are helping push food prices to new highs as well. There's been a confluence of factors really pushing oil stocks higher. That's been great to see as an investor, but now Exxon Mobil's stock price relative to the value or the underlying value, it doesn't look as enticing. That's why I've been considering selling it over the past month. I'm more in the camp of Warren Buffett. I try buying companies with a goal of holding forever. That's partially to avoid paying capital gain taxes. And continuing to hold and collect the dividends, that can be a great way to go as well. Although the dividend yield, it has dropped as the price has climbed. And even though Exxon's cash flows are going to be higher along with oil prices, the valuation still looks less attractive today compared to when I bought shares. On top of that, there are growing opportunity costs. As oil stocks have climbed, many other stocks have dropped. And even though renewables are likely decades away from overtaking fossil fuels, it's eventually going to happen. This creates some very long-term uncertainty for oil companies, even as we're seeing some of them try to position for that eventuality. These are some of the main reasons I'm leaning towards selling my Exxon Mobil stock. Now, I haven't sold yet, but if the price keeps on climbing, outpacing the fundamental potential, I plan to sell. Do you think this move would make sense? Should I sell? Should I keep on holding? Buy more? I'd really love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. I read every one and I really appreciate your feedback. Also, here are some of my past videos on why I invested in Exxon Mobil to start with. Those give more insight into my investment thesis. And once again, I'd really appreciate it if you just tap that like button down below as well as subscribe. Thank you.